Welcome back to Prepare to Read, where myself, Marcos, and my good friend Jacob guide each other on our first read-through of our favorite book series. Currently, we are reading Brandon Sanderson's Way of Kings, where Jacob is a first-time reader, and this week we are diving deep into chapters 19 through 22. But first, thank you for all the new subscribers. Reception to our videos and our channel as a whole has been way better than we ever would have expected, and we hit our goal of 25 subscribers, which is pretty awesome to see. So we're happy to be introducing our Discord server, where we can continue our conversations as the Prepare to Read community.
Woo!
I think you yelled a little
cool.
too loud there, and you clipped, I think.
Oh, I did? Sorry.
No, but anyway.
More subdued. No? Okay. Woo. Let's go. No, actually, we got a comment that said, how doesn't this have more views? And, like, I just think that's one of those comments that's, like...
Well, actually, I went and looked into it,
good.
and it was actually a bot comment. No, just kidding.
Definitely.
I don't know. Maybe it was. But if it was very encouraging. Anyways. Cool. So you ready to jump into it?
I am. I do want to say thank you, too. It's nice to see all the support. It's really cool. Like, we talk about it every time we get a new comment. Like, whoa, people are actually listening. So thank you, guys. And if you have any questions, either submit them on the bottom of this video in the comment section or join our Discord, which Marcos will have the link in there for.
All right.
But yeah, I'm ready, sir. This is going to be a long episode. I'm just going to tell you right now, I hope you didn't make plans. And if you're listening to this, stay listening.
Yeah, this is our first time kind of jumping a little deeper into what is really going on in this book series. So let's jump into it. Chapter 19, Starfalls. So this chapter is from the point of view of Dalinar, and when we left him last, he was going into one of his high storm visions. So this is what actually happened inside of that vision. So the moment that high storm hits, Dalinar finds that he's no longer in the barracks, but he's in an unfamiliar barn in the middle of a clear, cool night with a small girl for company. Now, this girl is freaking out. Dalinar has no clue. Yeah, Dalinar has no clue what's going on, but he's kind of deducing that he's possibly this girl's father, which is weird. But after a few moments of hushed conversation with a strange creature that's kind of lurking around the area, it bursts through one of the walls of the barn, and it starts to attack them. So Dalinar is able to avoid the creature, grab the girl. He has a little fight scene there, and then he manages to escape to a nearby house where a woman who he thinks is his wife is waiting for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, first, like you said, we leave off with the pretty much, like, they were really building it up of, like, oh, shoot, that high storm's coming. You know, like, Dalinar's going to have one of his visions. And, you know, we've heard about it a lot. So it is like, all right, I'm coming to this chapter. We stopped last week, didn't read anymore. And I'm like, okay, this, like, what's going to happen? And honestly, I think I was more interested as far as what was going to happen to him not in his vision. Like, we talked about it last time where, hey, he is obviously doing something that is making it known that he's having visions, because he doesn't seem like the type of guy to go around and say, like, hey, I'm having these really weird visions. So I was really eager to see, hey, what is he? Is he yelling? Is he screaming? What's going on? But instead, you know, I found what actually happened in his visions to be super interesting. Obviously, he's like transported somewhere, and my first thought was, you couldn't tell if it was like future or past, and I think we get a better idea later on. And I don't know. At first, I thought he was seeing something that was taking place somewhere else in this little intro part, but eventually we see that it's not there. And I want you to go a little bit further in the summary, because I do have some thoughts.
All right. So once Dalinar grabs the little girl and they escape to a nearby house, they get inside this house, and Dalinar has the woman bar the door. And after that, two more of these strange creatures force their way in, and Dalinar grabs a poker from the nearby hearth, and he starts to fight them off, which really throws off the woman, because the woman was like, who are you? You are not acting like my husband, because Dalinar is a pretty trained fighter, you know, so to just see your husband start whooping out these moves that he's never done is probably pretty shocking. And when he kills them, he notices that rather than bleeding, the wounds from the creature seem to release some type of smoke.
Okay, so I want to start, right? Finally, Mr. Sanderson gave us a fight scene that I loved. The way it was written was like, it was so full of tension. Like I felt like I was there. And it was slower paced, right? Because it was a lot of him like thinking. You were in his mind thinking of, hey, what move is going to work here? And he's unfamiliar with this weapon. So you're reading through that. But like, it just felt right for the way like these things were fighting him, where they were probably like circling him, getting a read on him, trying to tire him down. And it just felt like, I think because it wasn't Dalinar himself, like, you know, this could go bad. Like, he's not, in my opinion, protected right now, that character that he was. So this girl might get it, or
he
the
points
wife
it
might
out a
get
lot.
it, you know?
I believe he says something along the lines of, I don't have my shard blade, and I'm used to having that protection of a shard blade and shard plate, and right now I don't have that. So I very much could just get dropped, which usually isn't a big worry.
Yeah. So it just, I don't know. It played out. Again, I think I like the fights that are a lot more primal and visceral, and this was that. This was visceral. This was a visceral fight where I was just like, I was in the moment, man. I can't say enough good things about it. I also saw another thing, and it got brought up, I think, when he fought remind me what that giant creature's name is again?
Which?
The giant lobster thing.
I wanted to say Carniflex because we've been playing Space Marine.
Warhammer.
I know. Every video there, I was like, you should know this. Darn, I don't remember. But the big crap creatures that they take the gem hearts out of, right?
Yeah. Hold on, I got you. I got my resources right here. No,
those are the little things.
No, Chol is the other one, right?
It's
mules, basically. Come on, Marcos. Come on.
Chasm Fiend. That's
Chasm
it.
Fiend. Yeah. So that thing. So Dalinar gets this thing when he fights, and it's in capital letters, or it has a capital letter, and he calls it thrill. Like the thrill of the fight, but instead of just like a little T, anytime it's used, it's a capital T. And I don't know if we've seen this anywhere else, but I feel like I know Brandon Sanderson loves magic, or like he's known for his magic systems. That's what I know from the outside looking in, you know. I wonder if this is like a type of system, you know, because it's capitalized. Like there's got to be something going on here that maybe Dalinar doesn't understand, but it's capital letters, so it's important, you know. We'll see. But yeah, that's all I got so far.
This part's pretty interesting. Another aspect of kind of the Dalinar being in this new body that I found interesting was that he also points out that he can't move the way that he wants to, or the ways that he's used to. Like this body that he's in is not responding. And I thought that added some extra tension. And like you mentioned, this is a really interesting fight scene or just chapter as a whole, because the beginning part, it's almost kind of reminds me a little bit of like Alien. Like the creature's stalking around, they're hiding, he's trying to keep the girl calm. So this would be a really interesting chapter to kind of see played out, like if you were seeing it in live action. And besides that, he also builds up kind of the atmosphere around him. You know, all these houses are burning down. There's people that are getting killed all around him. So it's a pretty dire situation. But after this...
Well, you brought it up, so let's do it. Who would be your Dalinar?
Oh.
In a movie.
Pedro Pascal? No, just kidding. He gets casted for everything. Let's see, because they describe him as being older.
Because I have one.
But he's still got it, you know. So, who would be a good? Who's yours? Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, Definitely. That's a perfect Dalinar. Yeah.
I don't know. yeah. I got him. That's who I picture when I'm reading about Dalinar.
That's good. Yeah, I'm probably gonna picture that too now. He's the one who plays in Dune. He plays the sword, not sword keeper. What is he? Yeah, Gurney Halleck. He trains Paul. Yeah, great casting choice though.
That guy.
So from there, after this,
wait, hold on, one more. You got to give me one. Who would be your
Adolin?
Adolin.
Adolin comes off to me. I don't know. Maybe Austin Butler. I feel like it has to be a pretty boy. It has to be kind of a pretty boy, high prince type vibe. Yeah.
I get the vibe of Austin Butler, definitely not the look. Because I'm pretty sure Adolin... Oh, no, Kaladin is like dark hair.
Kaladin, right? I picture like an Aladdin type looking dude.
Yeah, definitely. That's the track. So, no, I think Austin Butler would be a decent choice for Adolin.
Or who else could it be? It could be... what's the name of the guy from Twisters that everybody's going crazy about? Glenn Powell.
Glenn Powell.
No, he's too old.
Nah.
Anyways.
No.
Anything else?
Oh, that's it. You just brought up a movie, and I'm like, all right.
Yeah, fan casting.
Start seeing who you would cast.
So from here, Dalinar takes the woman, and we find out that the woman's name is Taffa, and the little girl, whose name is Seelie. And they try to escape the creatures, and they start kind of running through the town, running through the forest along the river. And the woman keeps on questioning Dalinar when Dalinar starts to ask her, like, what year is it? What kingdom are you in? Questions like that. And she's like, why are you asking me these things? Like, you should clearly know this. I don't understand. And Dalinar kind of tells her, I hit my head. Like, I can't remember. And right before they can arrive to the village, the group is attacked by more of the strange creatures. And this is kind of when the scene gets most dire. You know, Dalinar's having his last stand. We're going to see the wife get ripped apart, and
you got the Game of Thrones violin.
The Reigns of Castamere, and he's protecting Seelie. It's all is lost, and then a really cool scene happens, or at least I think, like picturing it in my head, it sounds awesome. And it's probably the reason why the chapter is called Starfall. But 2 of the Knights Radiants arrive. And I just kind of picture this like a shooting star almost, like shooting down to the ground, which I think is an awesome visual. But 2 of the Knights Radiant appear, and they help him to kill the creatures. And they tell him that the creatures aren't Voidbringers, because Dalinar knows about these Voidbringers from legend, but rather they correct him and tell him, no, these are called Midnight Essence. And who
let out the Midnight Essence sparkles?
Okay. It's know. Like not another question I should know. Every time we were talking about what I'd be known for, and I feel like
you should.
Marcus is known for not actually remembering anything. But
yeah, and I haven't been reading the comments on YouTube. Except for ones that you send me. But I'm glad people are letting you know that you should know stuff.
They're holding me accountable, keeping me in check.
I think it's good.
So from there,
start calling you
we'll
a
get those
fan.
one day. Dalinar, he fights alongside the Knights Radiant. They're all kind of like, dang, this guy can throw hands. So they invite him to Urithiru to train as a Radiant. And from there, they then leave to help others. And there's kind of a couple of...
Whoa. Where's Urithiru?
Where is Urithiru? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Let's see.
Isn't it in what used to be, or what is now the Shattered Plains? No, that's the...
No. That's Nantanatan. That's where Shattered Plains is. Urithiru is what now is Alethkar.
Is it?
I think so. Pretty sure. Because they told them, that's where all the fighters go. Right? Urithiru is in Alethkar.
I'm not entirely sure exactly where it comes from. I know it's this big tower. So it says it's somewhere in Roshar.
Well, Darcy, let us
somewhere
know
in the central
below.
mountain range of Roshar.
Oh, well, you nailed that. That's only a whole world.
It's in there somewhere.
Or no, Roshar is the continent, right? That's what that is. Basically, Darcy, let us know where Urithiru is, because Marcus fails me when I ask questions. But I'm pretty sure what they told him is like, hey, Knights Radiant, anybody who fights, and I'm guessing they're talking about fighting the Desolation, is based in Alethkar, or what is now Alethkar.
Alethkar?
How do you pronounce it? Alethkar? Yeah. And, okay, so here, I'm going to start throwing out some theories, okay? So at first I was like, I thought Dalinar was going to see stuff that was taking place somewhere else. But what I think is happening is that Dalinar is reliving memories from his ancestor somehow. And I think because I am assuming this person that he's seeing this vision through is going to go to Alethkar and eventually like have kids, and through his lineage Dalinar is gonna like be born. So then begs the question though, is like, okay, so like, is this all happening as it did in the past? Because it's in the past. Like they talk about the epoch. I don't know how to pronounce that.
She also refers to places that
I'm assuming
don't exist
that's in the
anymore,
past,
like the Shattered Plains, what they used to be, stuff like that.
Yeah. So, in the past, now of course, if you read a fantasy book, time's a flat circle, so maybe it's the past, but is it the future? Is there a difference? Taking that out, I think he's in the past, and I think he's living through an ancestor, and because of this interaction, I think this is exactly how it went down. This guy's going to go over and then eventually give birth to a Dalinar colon.
Okay, so you think these visions are following some type of lineage that connects to him?
Yeah, kind of like the Assassin's Creed game, the Animus, They're reconstructing memories from past genetics, basically.
Because as the vision closes out, he starts to hear that voice again telling him to unite them, which he suspects belongs to the Almighty. And yeah, the Almighty voice tries to offer him some type of advice, telling him that he should continue to trust Sadeas. And I think that adds some more context to this voice he's hearing, because it's not just saying unite them, but now it's talking about Sadeas, so it has some type of presence.
Yeah, it has some type of knowing, right? Because it's aware of the current time. And let me ask you this: would you trust that voice? Would you trust the person who you might presume is giving you these visions?
Well, if I was in Dalinar's place, I would be led to, because like Dalinar is suspecting that it's the Almighty, and from my understanding, that's kind of one of the gods that he would fall under. So it would make sense for him to kind of, if he believes that's his voice, to then be led to listen to it.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, it's within his character, I think.
I feel like I would be a lot more skeptical about this stuff, at this point. I don't know, because he talks a couple times about, like, this feels so real, and he's, like, weirded out by that. So I'm like, have his other visions not felt this real? Because he's aware that he is having a vision, Like, he reminds himself several times. So it's not like he's forgotten that these have happened before while he's doing this. So I'm just like, okay, why does this one feel different? If it does. We didn't see any of the other ones. Is this like a next step in them? I don't know. It's just interesting to me that he kept saying, like, why does it feel so real? So I'm like, do they not always? Is it because he's getting closer to, like, the Shattered Plains that these are becoming maybe more violent,
and also,
vivid?
I mean, the question is still there of why do these happen during high storms? And it's kind of weird, because as he's coming out of the vision, he's continuing to ask the voice questions for answers, but he's still pushed out of the vision. So are they limited by they can only have the visions during a high storm, or is whoever's causing these visions just kind of done with him and like, no, I'm going to send you back now? But it seems like there's more going on.
Well, we do know that high storms have some sort of, I'm going to guess, storm light, right? Because that's what they hang the gems out there to refuel it. So, I mean, I would assume it's because of that they happen. Like maybe he gets this influx of storm light, and they're just kind of, it's like Paul's spice, you know? He gets a little couple snorts of it, and
so you just think Dalinar is high as hell. He's just coasted.
Gassed
All
up.
right.
But okay. So
yeah, from there he just comes out of the vision, and then he tells Renner, "I'm fine, I'm good," and then they leave. That's where we're left off.
Okay, I'll comment on that end before I jump back to something I brought up, or something I want to bring up. It says that Dalinar was speaking gibberish during his vision to the outside people, right? I don't think he's speaking gibberish. I think he's speaking an ancient language. Whatever language he was at, I think that's what he was speaking, and people don't understand. I think that's going on. And I wonder if he's trading places with this person that he's stepping into for these visions. Like, did Mr. Farmer become Dalinar? And is like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah. That's kind of interesting. But what if he like switched with like a 4-year-old or something, and they're like, whoa.
Yeah, I mean, hey. Because like it's I mean, it doesn't need to be that way, but I think of like, it reminds me a lot of like Bran's thing that's going on, where he is seeing the past, but also like he can influence, and it's like, at least in Game of Thrones, I guess they didn't want him to, but he did anyways. So that's what I feel like is happening. Like, he's actually taking, and then here we go, like, you open up that stuff and it can,
so then is he having these visions
what could happen
to learn something, or is he impacting the past in what he does in the vision that he's in, which would then maybe impact the present?
I mean, it could be both, right? Because obviously this guy didn't die because Dalinar was with him. You know, I think in any other case, if he wasn't an ultra super warrior, probably dead, and that family's dead in the barn or in the house. So I would say, yeah, he is impacting. I don't know if that's the intention. It seems like the intention is to show him something, or maybe, yeah, like he's you know, being moved where he's needed to at that time to make certain things go down the way it is. Good question, though. I like that question. Okay. I'm going to read the opening. I'm really obsessed
I actually think the opening of this one is awesome.
He holds the most frightening and terrible of all the shards. Ponder on that for a time, you old reptile, and tell me if your insistence on non-intervention holds firm. Because I assure you, race will not be similarly inhibited. So, I thought about this a lot, right? I'm obsessed with these. Whoever is writing these things, they can see what's going on. They obviously, I think what they talk about is what is discussed in the chapter itself. So I think they're saying that Dalinar's shard blade obviously has some sort of, these shard blades have, what would you call it, characteristics, if you will, and maybe that's why he's having these visions, or someone, race, is taking note of him. And the fact that they say, hey, we're not intervening, and I assume that the people who are writing these are like, I think they're the good guys. Something just tells me that. So if they're like non-intervening in this, then does that mean these interventions that he's getting through these visions are from this person, race? I don't know. Just things.
It does add an extra layer to the shards by them saying that they're the shard that this person's holding is the most frightening and terrible. So the shards aren't just an inanimate, hey, it's just another sword. It seems like there's more to them than that.
Yeah, and does he get his... Well, I guess not, because he wasn't holding his shard blade when he felt the thrill stuff that he was talking about, so that doesn't check out. But yeah, it sounds like these shards have characteristic. Do they call shard blade
I think shards
too,
refers to shard blade,
separate?
shard blade. So.
Okay. But yeah, so I don't know. I feel like whoever is... There's like an eye in the sky, basically, looking down and watching these things. I have something else. Well, we did talk about Midnight Essence. Who... Do you know who unleashed the Midnight Essence yet?
I have a theory of who I think it is, but I can't say. So that's going to be my new way to get out of when I don't know. Well, actually, I just can't talk about that at the moment.
So Midnight Essence is something different than Voidbringers. So that tells me that it's not related to Desolations, but Voidbringers are. I don't know. I don't know what these things are, but it was interesting. It was a nice introduction of a new... I guess it makes it a new faction, almost, right? Like, obviously someone is either controlling these things or just straight up was like, oh, shoot, man, my bad. You know? Mm-hmm. Like, this wasn't supposed to happen. Okay. They also talk about... I wrote down my page numbers here. You'll be proud of me. They also talk about... Did I write down the... Oh, 74. My bad. I'm sorry. Please forgive me, sir. Okay. The Desolation, he said. That means the Voidbringers, right? Those are what we fought this night. That's when they talked about the Midnight Essence. And yeah. No, this was the Midnight Essence. Though who released it is still a mystery. She looked to the side, expression growing distance. I'm gonna call him Hark, says the Desolation is close and he is not often wrong. So that tells me, who is this Hark guy? Harkalian. And what Desolation is he talking about? Because when we leave off in the prelude, we're sent off with the idea that, hey, no more Desolations, they're over, we did it. That's a lie, but like that's what we're telling everybody. So this is even before the prelude, to my understanding. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just another thing to point out. And I do have another one, or what do you have?
Not on that specifically, but around this Knights Radiant that he's talking to, we also get a little insight onto the shard bearers of the past seem to have more of a grasp or different abilities in regards to how to use their equipment than Dalinar and his people do. Because he points out several times where she'll have like a helmet on and then he'll blink and it's gone. And he just thinks to himself, how the heck did that happen? What caused that? So there is a skill issue here among Dalinar and his people that it seems they don't really completely grasp how to use the shards.
No, yeah. And like when they were talking about that, I definitely thought of like, well, he can summon his shard blade. So like, why couldn't you summon your armor also? At least that's what I was thinking of. Like, hey, they're doing what he did with his shard blade, but for their armor. They also talk about how like the girl was wearing, like that was a point he made. Like, whoa,
very
a woman,
sexist world.
And yes, 100%. There's definitely defined gender roles here, which I think we talked about last time. I have one last thing for this chapter. One of, I believe we're calling them, are they the Knights Radiant? I don't know. I think they're
two knights.
Right?
Yeah,
these guys are part of the Knights Radiant. One of them is a Makabaki with, I believe they said black hair with curls. We've seen two other Makabaki already, and they were at the Pure Lake, and they were looking for our boy Hoydy. And I'm just curious, like, is one of these Makabaki one of the ones that we've seen from the Pure Lake? That is a name. I'm telling you, he's got funny names. Or are they different? I don't know if we've seen one of them like with Kaladin, because we get a little more of a mix of like, I guess what would you call them? Ethnicities, races, right? With Kaladin more than we have with Dalinar. So I don't know, it's just something to note out. Like, hey, I don't know if those guys at the Pure Lake were Knights Radiant, but they're definitely more in the know than everybody else of what's going on. Also, okay, so is what, and I don't know if you know if this is a spoiler or not, but is what Zeph does with his lashings, is that like do other people know how to do that? Do other people know how to use Stormlight like he does, or is he like a rare breed?
Can't really say. I don't.
Darcy, let me know if he can't really say, or if he
no,
just doesn't
I do know, but don't want to say on that just yet.
Because it's like, obviously, like we've heard of, what did he call himself? No, Surge Binders are the ones that make the stuff out of rock, right?
No, then, those are the ones who use the Fabrials.
Yeah, Fabrials. And then we have, I remember Dustbringers being a thing in the prelude. And then we have Kaladin, I believe, has something going on with him. Don't know what yet. And then Dalinar has his Thrill. And then we see Seth lashing to stuff. And, like, drawing Stormlight to, like, fuel him. So, just a thought.
Cool. All right,
but
so moving on to chapter 20, Scarlet. This one, I believe, is a really quick one. It's from the point of view of Kaladin. And it's kind of a flashback to, I guess, a traumatizing event that happened to him, where he had to perform an unexpected surgery on a little girl from his village. I believe she was only like 4. She was really little, named Mysol. I think that's how you pronounce her name. And after a short time of just trying to stop the bleeding and work on her, she ends up dying. And when he is about to leave, the little girl's father arrives, named Harl, and he has to kind of just witness him grieving over her. And he eventually goes back with his dad, and his dad kind of just tries to console him through it, telling him that, like, the work you did was good. Just sometimes this happens, and the death it wasn't on Kaladin. Like, she was too far gone by the time that he was able to really do anything. And he leaves Kaladin with kind of some words to live by for Kaladin that I think had a big impact on him, which are that he'll have to learn when to care and when to let go.
And what we know from Kaladin is he never lets go. Ever. Couple things here. One, I think I've picked up on how they're doing these Kaladin flashbacks. Like, they are his dreams when he's asleep, and you know where he's at right now. It seems every time we come back from these, he's like waking up. I think I was a little confused about that before. Like, hey, why now? I think he's just dreaming in the sequence of the book. Couple thoughts on this. Obviously not too much to talk about here, but I think it's interesting that we don't get one of those letters when it's a flashback or like he's dreaming. And I think it's because the people who I think are being able to be a little more omnipotent or, you know, aware of what's going on can't see into his mind. So how can they comment on what's happening? But yeah, that's pretty much my only thought. I think we see, you know, because like we know Kaladin has the skills of a surgeon, right? Or at least some medical skills, and we're finding out why he didn't go down that path. I think, like, for real. Like, I know he enjoyed fighting, but I think it's really because he couldn't take not saving people. Even in like the military, like he like he takes that stuff to heart when like he tried to save a couple of the slaves when he was a slave and they all got killed, and he just like it wears on him too much. So I really think that's why he probably stepped away from being a surgeon. Also, I like Kaladin's dad so far.
Hal, what's his name? Hal?
Haven't met him
Harl.
much, but no.
Oh
Harl,
yeah, Liren. Harl was the little girl's father.
Liren. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think it's interesting to read this chapter to see, like, you know, my girlfriend's a nurse, and I don't think she's come into a situation yet where it's like, hey, like, no, like, call it quits on this person because, like, it's done. But, you know, I think she has had other instances where people have, I don't know, whatever. It's just interesting to see this perspective now as far as, like, dang, I do have someone who has experienced that, and I have major respect to the people who, like, do that. Like, I feel like how much it weighs on people to be, like a healthcare provider and then have to, like, I don't know, you know, recognize that, like, oh, like, you know, I do project stuff, so it's like, if this project isn't the answer, it's like, okay, cool, like, you know, like, we'll cut it, I don't care, like, I'll move on. But then when that happens with, like, people's lives, it's just like, damn. Like, but like Kaladin's dad was saying, well, you still did a good job, you know, like, it comes down to that eventually of, like, yeah, like, I mean, you did your job didn't help
and
him, you know?
I was on Brandon Sanderson's website, and he mentions how he does have certain groups of people that he'll send his books out to for kind of reading through certain sections or chapters. And I think one of the things he did mention was he'll send chapters that have, like, a surgery or some type of medical thing out to some of his contacts that are in the medical field and ask them, can you give me input on this, or would you say this is how things go down? So
yeah. And I think I remember the line that my girlfriend told me at work that reminded me of what was going on here. She got told one time that, like, you're not here to care for them, you're here to keep them alive. And it's just like, I don't know, a little less extreme than I think what Kaladin experienced, but still the same sentiment of, like, no. Like, you're not here to make them comfortable, you're not here to, like, fix them, like, you just keep them alive. Like, that's your job in this unit. And it's like, damn. Like,
yeah,
it's a little hardcore.
Well, from there, Kaladin wakes up, and to your theory about not being able to see in Kaladin's head, I think that's kind of disproven already, because in chapter 21, we get a quote. So I don't think it's relative to Kaladin, but there might be something going on with, because he was asleep or something.
I think that, like, we get comments on stuff that's happening, like, now. You get me? And because Kaladin was dreaming about that, like, how are they going to comment on that? You get me? Like, that wasn't something that was actually taking place at the time.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Well, from there, Kaladin wakes up, and he's kind of struggling with just getting up. But he kind of is starting to pull from the, I guess you could say, somewhat encouragement of having all of these people around him that are depending on him now. And he's kind of starting to build up this image of what he is and the things he does. So he kind of uses some of that and eventually does get up. And he goes and checks on the other men who were injured during the previous day's bridge run before he goes to his training. And he sees that 2 of them are fine, but others of them need antiseptic. And so he go ahead and takes care of them, and then he goes out to perform his morning training routine. And while he's jogging around with this big plank that he carries to get stronger, he starts to talk to Syl. And she brings up this whole idea that some of his men thinks that he's gone mad, and she starts to ask him, why do men lie? And Kaladin can't really give her completely a straight answer, but he basically tells her, like, all men do. It's kind of just something they do. And yeah, they just kind of have this small little philosophical discussion.
Yeah, I don't have too much to say
Okay.
right there. You can keep going.
So from there, then Gaz approaches Kaladin and tells him that Sadeas basically said, we don't care for these injured people. If they can't run, they're bridges, they're dead. Like, we leave them behind, doesn't matter. And also that they're not allowed to receive any food for these men while they can't run their bridges. So Kaladin's kind of put in this predicament of, well, shoot, now I need to come up with food to take care of these dudes. And a bit of a stressful situation because every time they run these bridges, there's more and more and more men that need caring for, right? Or you would think. So Kaladin goes to the rest of his bridge and he tells them all, like, all right, who's going to give some money for medical supplies and who's going to share their food? And everybody's like, bro, I have almost no money and I don't even have enough food for myself. But there are a couple of members of Bridge 4 that do agree to help to an extent. One of them is Rock, the Horn Eater, who agrees to share some of his food with Haber, the guy who has the best chance of recovering. And then basically because he took Rock's place during the bridge run the previous day. And Rock is kind of showing that he's a bit different. And that's also brought out by the fact that he can see Syl.
Well, also, what else does he say about Kaladin taking his spot? He brings it up. He brings up what I brought up. He's like, I saw so many arrows land around your head, but not one of them hit you. You know, he's like, it would have killed me, but for whatever reason, like you being there, it didn't. So I think and then he sees that, like he sees Syl. At least we assume that he sees Syl because he likes. I see you talking and like whatever. So I think he thinks that Kaladin's different. You know, like obviously something's going on, and I feel like Rock is like, I think my best chances of surviving are probably sticking with this guy who's got a weird spren hanging out with him and seems to be like death proof right now.
But
so
they also show that Rock,
I think,
and I think it has to do with his culture of being a Horn Eater and where he's from. I want to say that they're almost like a bit more spiritual. Like he doesn't lose it because he sees Syl. He's just like, yeah, I see her. You know, that happens. And that's what he calls them, like a lowlander.
Yeah, it's like he understands.
Man, like, you lowlanders.
He says, I am Ali Iku. Do you know what that means?
Is that Rock? Is that when describes
man.
his name? When they're like, what's your name?
Yeah,
and he tells them, and they're like, all right,
shocked.
I'll just call you Rock.
That's not that part. That's not that part, but it says, you can see her, he glanced at Syl. As a wind spren, she could appear to those she wanted to, and that generally only meant Kaladin. Syl seemed shocked. No, she hadn't appeared to Rock specifically. I am Ali Iku, Rock said, shrugging, which means... Rock scowled. Airsick lowlanders, is there nothing proper you know? He basically told him, you know nothing, Jon Snow.
I like Rock. He's a cool character.
So is being a Horn Eater different than being Ali Iku?
I think Ali Iku might be a part of the Horn Eater culture, maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh yeah, and then here too, like he talks about how Kaladin, like, you know, you should have been dead basically, and Kaladin is like luck, and he cuts him off, and he's like, he calls him it again, airsick lowlander.
Yeah.
So I think he reckons maybe what Rock knows is that if you be strong and you act with honor will aid you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very.
That's a quote. That's a quote
about
from,
to say. I was
from
about
last
to be
chapter.
like.
That's what
that
was
sounds
told
like
to
something
Dalinar.
Dalinar would say. You just tell it to me, and I'm like, wow, that's real good.
Your face.
Anyway, so from there, the chapter kind of just closes out with Kaladin pretty much goes and tells Gaz, like, hey, there's this stone gathering duty. Nobody wants to do it. I'll do it. But there's kind of a little side quest there. is that in them going and doing this duty, they're able to also gather knobweed, which was one of those, I think, was it antiseptic or painkillers that the apothecary was trying to sell Kaladin. So Kaladin, I mean, he's really trying to help these people out. Considering he gets nothing for it, these people are most likely going to die. So it really shows a lot of his character.
But he does get something out of it, Marcos, and he gets loyalty. He'll get loyalty. He'll get a team, a crew, if you will. I think I like this chapter. Again, we talked about it last time, but Kaladin is walking the talk of what being a leader looks like, I think. And you say that Sanderson reaches out to people when he's discussing things. Like, he had to have been reaching out with, I would assume, military leaders, but probably just like leaders in general, as far as like, hey, what would be something that you saw in someone that would be like, damn, you know what? Like, I have to follow this person now. Like, you know? And I think the whole part where he's like hurting and he can't get out, but he knows, like, he's like, well, I did it once. So, like, I got to do it again. You know, I have to. And it's almost like now, not. I don't think that he thinks it's a burden, but it is. Like, now he wanted to step up, and now it's like, okay, you got to keep doing it. And if you want them to do it, you have to do it no matter what. So I've really enjoyed seeing this. It reminds me of when, like, we started with Kaladin, and I wouldn't say he was like top of the world, but he was like, he had his crew, like, he was well loved. A lot of respect, and was in, like, moving towards his goal, I guess you could say, of getting to the Shattered Plains. And it reminds me of, like, when you do a video game and, like, there's like one video game and you level up your character and you're really strong, and they do the sequel and they have to find a way to, like, strip you of everything that you had, and then so you can, like, basically redo the progression again. That's what it feels like with Kaladin. Like, it's like, okay, cool, like, you had your loyalty before, but, like, now we need to watch you build it up.
And he's
again,
pretty much
basically
a mirror to everything that Dalinar is saying. All the stuff he brings up, it's just Kaladin.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like Kaladin is doing what Dalinar is talking about. And I'm not saying, I literally reiterated this last time, or I am reiterating it now. It's just like, he is doing what Dalinar is talking about. So Dalinar needs to step up a little bit, I think.
Yeah, so speaking of Dalinar, chapter 22, Eyes, Hands, or Spears. We're back with Dalinar, and now we are going to the King's Feast. So Dalinar gets ready, and he goes with his sons to the King's Feast, where Adolin begins to report on some of the findings with the strap that was cut or that was torn, and the leather workers that he consulted. And he keeps bringing up that it could have been an accident, maybe it wasn't. They're just discussing it, and the topic of the King's paranoia comes up, and Dalinar refuses to talk about his episodes in the High Storm. He's kind of all over the place right now. You know, he has these visions that are happening, his son with the strap, and then now he has this voice that's telling him to trust Sadeas, and he has a lot going on in his head pretty much. And he's really starting to question how he's kind of handling some of these things, and in whose best interest is it that he approaches them in the ways that he is. And from there, Dalinar starts to comment on the King's Feast as a whole. We kind of get his point of view of how he sees these feasts. And one of the things he points out is the sloppy, fashionable choices of the other nobles, where they're all wearing these silks, free-flowing stuff, and Dalinar's more like clean-cut, military, super well put together. And
yeah, it reminds me of that meme where is it The Simpsons? Or it's like, the future is now, old man.
Uh-huh.
I can't remember. But that's how I feel like Dalinar is, you know, he's just hanging on, man. He's got to learn when to care and when to let go.
Yeah. And he also points out the drunkenness of the people. And he does say, like, the Alethi people are usually reserved, but as time's going on, they're becoming less and less reserved. And when he arrives, the king's wit is sitting at his table, and he's just like insulting everybody that's walking up. And he pretty much tells Dalinar that this rumor is spreading around that Dalinar is asking the king to pretty much end the war. And it causes this big scandal for him, obviously, because he's like, shoot, I told Elhokar that. I didn't expect him to tell anybody that. And especially because he originally was planning to kind of go and start meeting with these different High Lords. It really doesn't work in his favor politically.
I think it's something interesting to point out. I don't think the wit necessarily like jokes at Dalinar first. Like, I really feel like the wit advises Dalinar.
Kinda. I do feel like he's poking at Dalinar, but he's also kind of helping him a bit. It's like a Tyrion, like how Tyrion kind of is.
It reminds me of, and I'm gonna do another Game of Thrones, not Tyrion, but like Viserys, where it's like, I think, you know, he understands what's going on with, and he recognizes that maybe Dalinar doesn't, and I think he's trying to make him wise to that. But the wit is a weird character. He's a very interesting character. I don't know where to stand with him. Again, also, this was the most funny Brandon Sanderson's writing has been to me, but still not there. Still not the funniest guy in the world, I don't think. But yeah, it's just interesting. Hold on, give me a second. I was trying to find a little part here. Whatever. But yeah, I just think it's interesting, his interaction with Dalinar and Dalinar's family. Like, he genuinely tells him things that he thinks should be going better, and Dalinar listens to him. You know, like, he takes to what he says. Like, he doesn't laugh it off like a joke. Like, he actually thinks about it and is like, you know, yeah, like, that's a good point.
Yeah, well,
so yeah.
Speaking of Dalinar's family, at this point, Lady Navani, which is Gavilar, Dalinar's brother's widow, arrives at the feast, which is really unexpected for Dalinar. And he's very thrown back by her, and he's trying to really hide how attracted he is to her. And this was kind of like a fun little culture moment, I think, as far as his writing goes, where he was thinking, as long as I'm eating, like, she can't approach me, you know, because that wouldn't be proper. And then also, like, she can't sit at the king's table, so she does this thing where she, like, sits next to the table but not at the table. And they do start to kind of, through these different little moments, build up a little bit of Navani's character of, like, she likes to kind of thread that line of, like, what is okay and what is not.
She definitely, like, I like her. She's cool. She is an interesting character. I think the way she was introduced was excellent. It's like, just that I was not expecting that. I'm not going to lie. Like, I have my, you know, I feel like this has been very, it's not Game of Thrones, all right? So when it was like, we got some dead brother's wife stuff, and Dalinar's like, damn, you know? Like, I was like, whoa.
Big
not expected in this book, to be honest. And then it turns out that, like, she was kind of like, hey, which one of you is going to be my husband, you know? Like, when they were younger. And then, you know, it feels like the way Dalinar is describing it is like, he knows that she, since his brothers died, like, she's not being the most appropriate, you could say, you know, like, it's like he's scared to be alone with her. So that makes me think that she's either one, you know, hinted at some possible actions or something like that, you know, to give him that idea of, like, I can't.
And then she keeps messing with
you know?
the dude. Like, she knows doesn't she tell him something of, like, oh yeah, later on we'll talk in private, and Dalinar's like, oh my gosh, I can't do that.
But then she also talks about the son. She's like, yeah, he sucks. And he is, like, taken aback. He's like, what do you mean? Like, why are you saying those things? And she's
but
like,
she
yeah,
backed herself
let's
up
be real.
because
Like,
this also shows that she's, I would say, a little bit analytical. Because she says, like, I am not trying to offend him. I am stating what is true. Like, look around you. And that's further extended in kind of how this next scene plays out, where Elhokar announces that he is going to appoint Sadeas the High Prince of Information. And when he says that, Navani kind of looks at Dalinar like, I told you, he's not good at this stuff. Like, he doesn't see the impact politically that his decisions have.
yeah. And is this where we get the line about, like, hey, the most fragile position is when the father dies?
That
and
was
the
some
son takes
chapters
over?
ago.
Is that we got that last time? And it seems like, well, regardless, it seems like she's very aware of that, and she's very aware of, like, hey, she thinks back home's good. She thinks that Elhokar's wife's got it on lock. So she's like, I know he doesn't, so I'm gonna come over here. And I think she might be a good fit to Dalinar's
Lack of comprehension of the politics.
Yes, like, he doesn't have, like, I don't think he doesn't comprehend them. I think he does. I think he doesn't know how to navigate them, if that makes sense, you know? And I think she can show him
She's
that. And
what
I
he
feel
needs.
like it's going to be, yeah, in more ways than one, you know?
I really liked this whole part where Elhokar appoints Sadeas the High Prince of Information, because it's a really cool way, I think, of adding some political maneuvering to Sadeas without it being done completely in our face. And we don't really know the implications, at least from Sadeas' point of view, like what his motive or what he's going for. We don't really know that as of now. We could just go off of what is the impact of this position. And
do you trust Sadeas
on that? Yeah, I would rather you just think about that on your own.
I don't. I feel like the book doesn't want me to, right? I feel like Dalinar does want to. I don't think it's going to be as simple as, hey, Sadeas wants to be king. You know, I don't think that's what it's going for.
He wants to be wit.
I think there's something else that's no, he doesn't. He does not. But I think there's something else that's motivating him, because he is very much trying to get into the king's favor. He's winning the gem hearts, and he understands that Elhokar values that, whereas Dalinar doesn't. And, like, you know, like, he's doing what he needs to do.
He also knows that
to
Elhokar
get to the king.
values his safety. So by appealing to, like, dude, I'll do the investigation. Like, I will get you that answer. Elhokar is like, yes, that. It kind of reminds me of in House of the Dragon with, what's his name? Strong and... Dang, dude, I just saw this.
Wow.
That's how you know how season 2 didn't play out very well. Yeah, and Aegon. Yeah, telling him, like, what he wants to hear so that he could be put in the position that he wants.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, Sadeas is playing.
Yeah,
he's playing the game well.
definitely.
So,
yeah, and to, you know, what's her name? Navani's, right? Navani's credit, like, I mean, she's right. Like, he doesn't see it, he doesn't understand, and he's being played a fool right now. Obviously, I think it's obvious Sadeas has ulterior motives, but whether it's, like, to try to kill the king, you know, I don't think so. But who knows, you know? As they say, chaos is a ladder. So I want to talk about Wit a little bit more, though. What do you know about Wit?
I can't say. I know some stuff.
Where was he during the hours of right before the fight with the Chasm Fiend? Do you know where he was? Do you know where he was? Whoa, interesting.
Wasn't he?
You don't? He was gone for several hours. He said he had stuff to attend to. It's pretty interesting, you know what I mean? But anyways,
No,
Yeah.
that's it.
Sorry,
I mean,
continue.
we covered everything already. Yeah.
Really? Yeah, so I think overall this section, like, and like I said, I think we're in the meat of the book now. I'm enjoying it a lot. I'm excited. I feel like I'm waiting for was it a pin to drop? That's what I'm waiting for now. Is like, okay, I have this idea of where we're going. What's going to be the oh shit? You know, what's going to be that thing that is like sends us on a different direction? And I feel like it's going to just start moving. You know, would you say that we've hit that point yet, or no?
No, I think things are brewing right now.
Yeah, and I think something's gonna happen with like Kaladin either confronting Dalinar or confronting Sadeas. I think that's what's gonna be the thing that, like, oh snap, you know, and then we send ourselves onto a roller coaster ride. Because I have heard really good things about this book, and you've kind of told me too, like, hey, like, this book moves at one point, or like a lot of stuff goes down that's pretty cool. So I'm ready for that. I'm hooked. I'm in it. I love it right now. It's really good.
And it just gets better.
And I'm excited to read more.
I think
it?
I really
Does it?
like the second and third books. The fourth one I thought was a little weaker, but the second and third are top tier.
Oof.
They're amazing. There are some moments in those that are just awesome. So
Okay,
Oh
who
my
did you cast for
for
who did you
Wit,
cast for Wit?
oh man, I feel like Wit isn't
Mm-hmm.
a character that I feel like he can be a lot of people. I'd rather him be somebody that I don't know. Yeah. Who do you
I
have?
think so. I don't know. I was just thinking about it from our other question. I could see someone like Ryan Reynolds.
Somebody
being
witty?
Wit. Yeah, there you go. I don't know. Do you have any questions for me
I'm gonna leave that up to the
on this
viewers.
section of the book? Whoa. Yeah, for next episode, if you made it this far, please, down in the comments or in our new Discord channel that Marcos has so graciously linked, put some questions for me. Ask me questions. I want to be asked questions. I'm not going to lie. I really want to answer. I want my... Because I noticed what I noticed, you know, and then Marcos asked me some questions too, but I want to hear... I want either to send me down rabbit holes that aren't true, throw me red herrings, you know. I'm enjoying deep diving into this book, going back to previous pages, seeing if I, connect the dots. Right now, my biggest questions are, why is Yasna a heretic? Who is Hoyd, and why are we looking for him? And what powers do Kaladin and Dalinar have that involve Stormlight? I think Kaladin's using the Stormlight from those gems.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sold. Like, he is absorbing them when he goes out into combat.
Well, just gotta keep reading.
So, when will
I
they tell me
don't
the answer to that,
remember.
Marcos? Ah, he slipped. He slipped. He said he doesn't remember. That means it does happen.
Cool. Well, that's all I got for today.
Yeah, that's all I got too, sir.
All right. Well, if you made it this far, thank you for joining us again. Thank you for all the nice comments and all the new subscribers. And we hope to see you guys on this video and the next.
Adios.